It starts as just a lab partnership, nothing more. But between shared study sessions, awkward glances, and moments that almost mean something, Sofia begins to wonder if there's more between them. Mixed signals. Chapter 1. Safety goggles and first impressions. Sofia adjusted the strap on her goggles, already regretting her decision to take the 8 a.m. chemistry lab. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, and the faint smell of ethanol lingered from the last group's experiment. She set her notebook down neatly on the bench and lined up her pens in order. Black for observations, blue for calculations, red for mistakes. Order was everything. She glanced at the empty stool beside her. Still no lab partner. Figures. The syllabus had said partners would be randomly assigned on the first day. She'd secretly hoped to be matched with someone as serious as she was, maybe another pre-med student. Someone punctual, focused, possibly even already halfway through the pre-lab worksheet. The door swung open with a loud creak, and a tall guy in a grey hoodie stumbled in, breathing heavily and holding a half-eaten banana. "Sorry," he said to no one in particular, pushing his hair back with one hand. "Bus was late, and my alarm, and yeah." He scanned the room. Every other bench was filled now. Sofia's heart sank a little when his eyes landed on the only open seat, hers. "Hey, is this table 4B?" he asked, dropping his bag with a thud. She nodded once. "Yeah. You're Tyler?" "Yep," he grinned. "You must be Sofia?" "Sofia with an F." "Right. Sofia. Got it." He tossed the banana peel into the trash, pulled out a crumpled printout from his bag, and smoothed it against the bench. So, acids and bases. Should be fun. She raised an eyebrow. "You read the pre-lab?" "I skimmed it, mostly on the bus." He smiled again, like that made it better. Sofia sighed quietly and reached for the first beaker. "We're supposed to measure the pH of 5 solutions and record the colour changes. I'll start the measurements. Can you set up the indicator chart?" Tyler blinked. "The what?" "The colour reference chart," she said, already regretting everything. "It's on the last page of the instructions." He flipped through the packet with the urgency of someone trying to cram for a test they didn't know was today. After a minute he found it and held it up proudly. "This thing?" "Yes," she said flatly, but he didn't seem to notice. As they started the lab, she tried to ignore how he tapped the bench rhythmically with his pencil, or how he almost knocked over a test tube with his elbow. Twice. He hummed to himself while recording readings, writing numbers that were suspiciously rounded. "Tyler," she said, glancing at his sheet, "you got a pH of exactly 7 for lemon juice?" He looked at it, then back at her. "Is that wrong? It's supposed to be acidic." "Right." He scratched it out and wrote 4.5 instead. "Just testing you." She didn't laugh, but she didn't correct him either. After an hour of stiff cooperation, they had a decent set of results. Sofia was packing up her materials when Tyler said, "Hey, thanks for, not freaking out about me being late or not exactly on top of things." She paused. "I just want a passing grade." He chuckled. "Same, though I think I'll need more than that." Sofia hesitated. Then, without looking up, she said, "If you want, I could send you my notes from lecture. They might help." Tyler blinked, surprised. "Seriously? That'd be great." She shrugged, trying not to seem like she cared. "Just try not to spill anything on them. I make no promises." As he slung his bag over his shoulder, he added, "See you Thursday?" Sofia gave the smallest nod. "Thursday." He smiled slower this time, less joking, and walked out. He had one of those smiles that wasn't trying to be charming, which somehow made it worse. Quirky, asymmetrical, like he found the world mildly amusing, including her. And his eyes dark, unexpectedly steady, held just enough depth to suggest he might not be all surface after all. Sofia stood at the bench a moment longer, watching the door swing shut behind him. She didn't usually offer help, or small talk, or her notes, and she definitely didn't notice things like how someone's hair fell into their eyes, or how their voice had that soft scratch at the edges like they'd just woken up. She slid her notebook into her bag a little too quickly. It didn't mean anything, it was just lab protocol, helping a partner. Still, she told herself not to overanalyze it. After all, it was just chemistry, right? Chapter 2, Neutralization, Reactions, and Other Distractions. The following Thursday, Sofia arrived early again. Lab didn't start for 12 more minutes, but she liked the quiet before the noise. She liked prepping the station, lining up the equipment, just so. Chemistry, at least, followed rules. Equal parts, measurable reactions, predictable outcomes. Unlike people. She was halfway through her setup when Tyler breezed in, this time only 5 minutes late. A personal record, apparently. "Hey, Sofia with an F," he said, sliding onto the stool beside her. "I remembered. Impressed?" "Surprised," she replied, not looking up from her graduated cylinder. He grinned. "I'll take that." She tried to ignore how he smelled faintly like laundry detergent and something warm, not cologne, just him. She hated that she noticed. "Did you get the lecture notes?" he asked, unpacking his barely touched binder. "I sent them," she said. "Check your email." "Oh, right." He pulled out his phone. "I'm terrible at email. Everything gets buried under professor spam and discount codes." Sofia rolled her eyes, but not unkindly. "Maybe don't give your school email to Smoothie Chains?" "Too late, they know where I live now." She snorted an actual sound. It surprised them both. Tyler blinked, then smiled. "Was that a laugh?" "It was an accident." He looked mock-offended, and here I thought we were bonding. "We're measuring titration levels today," she said, pushing the lab instructions toward him. "Try to bond with that." He scanned the page. "You like this stuff?" Sofia hesitated. "I like that it makes sense. The logic of it." Tyler tapped the page with his pen. "So we pour A into B and something foams. That's chemistry, right?" "It's neutralization," she said. "The acid and base cancel each other out. You end up with salt and water." He leaned back, eyes narrowing. "That's kind of poetic, actually." She gave him a look. "It's science." "Still," he said, flashing that lopsided smile again. "Two things that cancel each other out and make something new. That's kind of cool." Sofia didn't respond, but she suddenly forgot which beaker she'd already filled. They worked in relative silence for the next few minutes, the occasional scrape of glass or scribble of pencil filling the space between them. He wasn't entirely hopeless when he focused. Tyler was careful with measurements and had a surprisingly neat handwriting, but his attention wandered. A lot. He tapped her notebook once, interrupting her notes. "Do you ever, do anything not academic?" "I exist outside of lab, yes," she said coolly. He smirked. "Do you go to parties?" "Not really." "Clubs?" "No." "Movies? Walks in the park? Midnight rollerblading?" Sofia finally looked up, eyebrow raised. "Do you?" "Absolutely not, but I thought I'd ask. You seemed like you might." She almost smiled. Almost. They finished the procedure with minimal damage. Only one minor spill, and this time it wasn't his fault. As they began cleaning up, he glanced at her again. "You're not what I expected," he said. "Meaning?" "I don't know. You're kind of scary smart, but you also notice things. Like when I wrote the wrong measurement last week, you didn't make a big deal out of it. You just let me fix it." Sofia stared at the sink. "Most people don't fix things when you tell them outright. They just get defensive." He nodded slowly. "Yeah, that tracks." They packed up in silence. As she zipped her bag, he stood awkwardly beside her, almost like he was waiting. "Do you—" he started, then hesitated. "Never mind." "What?" "I was going to ask if you wanted to grab a coffee or something, but you probably don't drink caffeine after noon, and you definitely have plans to study, and I'm definitely interrupting them." Sofia paused. She did have plans. She always had plans. But for some reason she couldn't remember what they were. "I don't drink coffee," she said, voice steady. Tyler nodded, looking down. But I like tea, she added. He looked up again, a little surprised. His smile was small this time, almost cautious. There's a place near the library, he offered. She didn't say yes, but she didn't say no. Okay, she said finally. 15 minutes? 15 minutes, he echoed. And for once Sophia didn't double-check her schedule. Chapter 3, Not a Date. Sophia regretted saying yes before they even made it to the tea shop. It wasn't that she didn't want to go. It was the why she said yes that bothered her. She didn't do spontaneous. She didn't do casual tea breaks with guys who made jokes in the middle of a lab safety briefing. And yet, here she was, walking half a step behind Tyler, trying not to feel self-conscious about her hair, her coat, or the fact that her hands wouldn't stop fidgeting with the zipper of her bag. "This place okay?" he asked, holding the door to a corner cafe. Sophia nodded. "It's fine." It was fine. Wood tables, warm lighting, a quiet hum of soft music, a chalkboard menu listing obscure tea names she had to squint at. Tyler didn't hesitate. He ordered something called honey lavender, like he'd done this before. She chose green jasmine, safe, simple. They sat by the window, a tiny round table between them. The tea came in mismatched mugs. "So," Tyler said after a few sips, "this is officially the least chaotic thing I've done all week." Sophia smiled faintly. "What counts as chaotic?" "Lost my wallet on Monday. Got it back Tuesday. Someone turned it in, but all my IDs were missing. Had to go to 3 different offices to replace them." She blinked. "That sounds exhausting." "Yeah, but hey, it forced me to clean out my backpack. Found a sandwich I think I bought in September." She made a face. "That's horrifying." He laughed. "Yeah, don't worry, I didn't eat it." For a while, they sipped in silence. Sophia tried not to keep adjusting the sleeve of her sweater or tucking her hair behind her ear every 5 seconds. She wasn't good at this. Small talk, eye contact, figuring out if this was whatever this was. Tyler leaned back in his chair and looked at her, not casually, not intensely, just honestly. "You know, when I saw you on the first day," he said, "I thought there's no way she'll even talk to me." "You weren't exactly making a great impression," she said, not unkindly. "Fair," he admitted. "But still, you looked, I don't know, not in a scary way, just like someone who has everything together." Sophia stared at her tea. "I don't." "I know that now," he said. "Well, a little. You don't talk much, but when you do, it's never just to fill silence." She hesitated. "And what about you? Do you always talk this much?" Tyler smiled, almost sheepishly. "Sometimes I talk more when I'm nervous." That surprised her. "You? Nervous?" "Yeah." He met her eyes, and for a second she forgot what she was about to say. "You don't make it easy." She tilted her head. "I didn't realize I was supposed to." "You're not," he said quickly. "It's just, you're different." Different. That word stuck in her throat like steam. "I'm not trying to be," she said. "I just don't always know how to do this kind of thing." "What kind of thing?" She gestured vaguely. "Talking with someone outside of assignments." He was quiet for a moment, then said, "Well, you're doing okay so far." She smiled small, instinctive, before she could stop it. They finished their tea slowly. No one rushed to leave, but no one said the obvious either. This wasn't just a study break. At least not for her. Not anymore. As they stood to leave, Tyler held the door again and gave her a lopsided look. "So, same time next week? After lab?" Sophia hesitated. She had a paper due, an exam to prep for, a reading list waiting. But none of that came out of her mouth. "Okay," she said. He smiled broad this time, boyish, genuine, and walked beside her toward campus. Sophia kept her eyes ahead, but the edges of her lips didn't quite stay still. She told herself it was just tea, not a date, not anything. Not yet. Chapter 4. Indicators and Interference. Sophia told herself it was just a weird week. She was tired, distracted, off her game. That's why she added the wrong amount of indicator during the lab procedure and had to start over, twice. It had nothing to do with Tyler, even if he was leaning closer than usual to check the chart, even if he smelled like citrus shampoo, even if she noticed the way he rolled his sleeves up without thinking, or how he tapped his pen exactly 3 times when he was focused. She was fine. "Are you okay?" he asked, peering over her shoulder as she reread the instructions for the 3rd time. "I'm fine," she said. "I just forgot the sequence." He gave a small sideways smile. "You? Forgetting something? Do I need to alert the science gods?" She rolled her eyes. "Maybe just don't talk for a second." He held up his hands. "Silent mode activated." They worked in relative peace, and Sofia slowly returned to her usual precision. But halfway through recording their final results, a voice behind them broke the rhythm. "Tyler?" They both turned. A girl with copper-red hair and flawless makeup leaned on the counter at the next table, twirling a pencil between her fingers. Her lab coat was fitted, definitely not standard issue, and she had a confident, practiced smile. Tyler blinked. "Oh, hey, Anna, right?" She laughed like they were old friends. "Right, from Psych last semester. You sat behind me and ate M&Ms through the whole midterm." "Guilty?" he said, smiling back. Anna's gaze flicked toward Sofia, then returned to Tyler. "So how's Chem treating you?" Tyler shrugged. "Less candy, more explosions." "Sounds like a downgrade," Anna said, leaning slightly closer. "We should catch up sometime." Sofia stared down at her notes, pretending not to listen, but her pen pressed harder than usual. "Sure," Tyler said. Maybe." Anna smirked. "Let me know." She turned with a flip of her hair and strolled back to her table. Sofia didn't look up. Tyler cleared his throat. "Well, that was random." "She seems nice," Sofia said flatly. He glanced at her. "You okay?" "I'm fine," she said again. "You're allowed to talk to other people." He blinked. "Yeah, but did I do something?" "No," she said quickly, then softer. "I just want to finish the worksheet." Tyler didn't push, but the silence that followed felt heavier than usual. They finished the assignment, packed their things, and walked out of the lab without their usual banter. Outside, the afternoon sun cast long shadows across the pavement. Sofia squinted at the light. "Hey," Tyler said, adjusting his bag strap. "Are we still tea?" She paused. She wanted to say yes, but her brain jumped in first. What if Anna showed up? What if this meant more to her than it did to him? "I've got too much to do today," she said, not quite meeting his eyes. "Oh yeah, no worries." He smiled, polite, not disappointed, and turned down the path toward the quad. Sofia stood still for a moment, the noise of campus swirling around her. She should have gone with him, but her head was noisy, her chest felt tight, and that girl's perfect laugh was still ringing somewhere in the back of her mind. She told herself she was imagining things, that Tyler was just friendly, that none of this meant anything. But when she got home, she didn't study right away. She just sat at her desk, staring at her tea mug, thinking about a lopsided smile and the sound of M&Ms in a backpack. Chapter 5, Reactions and Overcorrections. Sofia spent the weekend telling herself to let it go. She didn't like Tyler, not like that. They were lab partners. She was helping him pass chemistry, and he was tolerable company in return. End of story. Besides, she had exams to focus on. Medical school didn't care about lopsided smiles or psych girls with perfect hair. But when Thursday rolled around and Tyler wasn't at the lab bench 5 minutes before class, her stomach tightened. She hated that it did. By the time he slipped in right on time, but not early, she was already adjusting the pipettes with unnecessary force. "Hey," he said, dropping his bag and pulling on his goggles. "Hi," she replied, eyes on the equipment. He paused. "You okay?" "I'm fine." There it was again, the lie she'd been repeating all week. Tyler didn't push. He just grabbed a test tube and started measuring like they hadn't skipped their usual rhythm. But Sofia could feel the silence growing between them. Every moment they didn't talk felt like another brick added to a wall she didn't mean to build. When he accidentally added too much solution to the base, she flinched. "Sorry," he muttered. "It's fine," she said too quickly. But it wasn't, not really. By the time they finished, the results were technically correct, but the atmosphere was off. No jokes, no banter, no tea invitation. As they packed up, Sofia finally said, "I didn't mean to be weird last time." Tyler blinked. "You weren't weird." "I was," she said. I don't know, in my own head." He zipped his bag. "It's okay. If you needed space—" "I didn't," she cut in. "I mean, maybe I did, but not from you, just from everything." She looked at him for the first time that day. His hair was a little messy, like he'd run his hands through it too many times. His hoodie sleeves were pushed up unevenly, and there was a blue ink smudge on his wrist. She didn't want to care about any of that, but she did. "I like talking to you," she said quietly, "and I don't always know how to do it right." Tyler's mouth twitched. "You're doing okay so far." Sofia felt her face flush. He held her gaze a second longer, then said, "So tea?" She hesitated. "I can't. I have a quiz tomorrow." He nodded. "Right, no problem." They stood in silence. People filed past them. Someone dropped a water bottle that rolled under a bench. "But," Sofia said before she could stop herself, "I could do Sunday." Tyler's eyebrows lifted. "Sunday?" "I study at the library, around 2, if you happen to be there." "I'll happen to be there," he said. A beat passed. She smiled, a real one this time. "Okay." As they walked out of the building, a gust of wind blew a strand of her hair into her face. She went to tuck it behind her ear, but Tyler reached out first fingers, brushing lightly across her cheek as he moved it aside. She froze. He pulled back immediately. "Sorry, that was—" "It's okay," she said. They didn't say anything else. But her heart was beating louder than it should have been for something so small. Or maybe it wasn't small at all. Chapter 6. Sunday Silence. Sofia arrived at the library early. Not intentionally. At least, that's what she told herself. She always came early. She liked the quiet before the afternoon crowd. The best corner table by the window. The time to settle in without distraction. Still, she glanced at the door every time it opened. She'd told herself it didn't matter if Tyler showed up. It wasn't a date. It wasn't anything, really. Just a maybe. Just 2 people happening to be in the same place at the same time. At 2:07 he walked in, grey hoodie, backpack slung over one shoulder, a slightly confused expression that disappeared when he saw her. "Hey," he said, approaching like someone testing thin ice. "Mind if I join you?" Sofia gestured to the seat across from her. "It's a public table." He smiled and sat down. For a while they didn't talk. Pages turned, pens scratched across paper. Her highlighters moved in precise little arcs. His notes were looser, messier, but he seemed to be trying. She found herself watching him more than her textbook. "You actually study," she said after a while. He glanced up. "That surprising?" "A little." "I have layers," he said, mock-wounded. "Like an onion?" "Exactly like an onion," he nodded. "Smells weird, makes people cry, hard to peel." She smirked. "You forgot sometimes useful in stir-fry." "I'll add it to my resume." They fell quiet again. The buzz of fluorescent lights filled the space between them. Then Tyler asked, "Did you always want to do medicine?" Sofia looked up, a little startled by the question. "Yeah, since I was a kid." "Because you want to help people?" She hesitated. "Because I like fixing things, understanding them, making sense of what's wrong." He nodded like he got it. "What about you?" she asked. "I don't know," he said. "That's kind of my theme lately. Undecided major seeks meaning." She waited. "My mum thinks I should go into business," he added. "I told her I'd be terrible at it. I'd give away everything for free and forget to invoice anyone." Sofia smiled faintly. "What do you think?" "I think I like music," he said. "But I don't know if that's enough." "For what?" "For being taken seriously, by myself even." She looked at him, really looked at him. There was something in his voice barely there, but real. A crack in the joking, a hint of something heavier. "I think wanting something is enough," she said softly. Their eyes met across the table. Neither of them looked away. For a moment everything felt suspended, as if something might tip if either of them moved. Then someone dropped a textbook at the next table, breaking the spell. Sofia blinked and went back to her notes. Tyler leaned back in his chair, staring at the ceiling like it had answers. They stayed for another hour, not saying much, not needing to. When they finally stood to leave, it felt like both too early and exactly enough. At the door he paused. "Thanks for letting me crash your study spot." She shrugged. "You were tolerable." He grinned. "High praise." And then as they stepped out into the late afternoon sun, he said, "Next Sunday?" She didn't hesitate. "Yeah." Chapter 7. Static Electricity and Other Side Effects. Sofia didn't think about what to wear, except she definitely did. She changed her sweater 3 times and redid her ponytail twice before finally grabbing her bag and walking to the library. They didn't call it a routine, but now it kind of was. Same table, same time, same quiet warmth that made everything feel less like school and more like something she didn't have a name for yet. Tyler was already there this time. He looked up when she arrived and smiled. "Early. Trying to show me up?" "You were early first." He shrugged. "Only because my roommate had a Zoom call with his girlfriend, and I needed to escape." Sofia smirked. "Romantic." "Loud," he said, "but effective. I now know way too much about her skincare routine." She laughed softly and sat across from him. Their knees brushed under the table. Neither of them moved away. They worked in silence for a while, or tried to. But Sofia found herself rereading the same paragraph 3 times. She kept catching little glimpses, his hand tapping a rhythm on the page, the curve of his cheek when he was concentrating, the tiny scar on his wrist she hadn't noticed before. He caught her looking once. She quickly glanced down, cheeks warm. "I was going to ask," he said after a moment, "do you ever take breaks from being focused?" "I'm not always focused." He raised an eyebrow. She sighed. "Okay, mostly, but not always." "Well," he said, pushing his notes aside, "this is your 5-minute break." "Is it?" "Yep, I'm declaring it." Sofia leaned back in her chair. "And what am I supposed to do during this break?" Tyler tilted his head. "I could quiz you." "On what?" He grinned. "Favorite color?" She rolled her eyes. "Green." "Wrong. It's lavender now." She raised an eyebrow. "You don't get to decide my favorite color." "I do during your break." She almost laughed again, almost. "Fine," she said, crossing her arms. "Your turn. Favorite movie?" He paused, then said, "That's a dangerous question. What if I say something stupid and you never respect me again?" She pretended to consider. "Depends on the movie." "Okay, fine. The Iron Giant." She blinked. "Wait, that's actually a great answer." "I told you, layers." Their eyes met again, this time with a little more weight, the kind that made it hard to look away. He reached across the table suddenly. "You've got something," he said. Fingers brushing just under her jaw, gentle, quick, a barely-there touch. She froze. So did he. "Sorry," he said, quickly pulling back. "That was—" "It's okay," she said, heart thudding. "I didn't mind." He looked at her like he wasn't sure he'd heard that right. The silence stretched between them, filled with everything they weren't saying. Then Sofia laughed softly, breaking it. "This is getting weird." "A little," Tyler admitted, but he was smiling too, nervous, like her. "Good weird," she added, more quietly. He nodded. "Yeah, I think so." They didn't get much studying done after that. When they left the library, their arms brushed several times. Neither of them stepped away. When they reached the campus crossroads, they slowed, like they weren't sure whether to part ways. "I'll see you Thursday," Sofia said, adjusting her bag. "Yeah," Tyler paused. "Hey, Sofia." She looked up, but whatever he was going to say, he didn't say it. He just gave her that crooked, almost nervous smile. "See you." She watched him go, and this time she didn't pretend it didn't mean anything. Chapter 8. Misread Signals. Sofia hadn't heard from Tyler all week. No texts, no casual emails, no accidental run-ins on campus. Thursday's lab loomed like a test she hadn't studied for. Not in chemistry, but in emotional preparedness. When she arrived at the bench, he was already there, fiddling with a pipette like it had offended him. He didn't look up. "Hey," she said carefully, sliding onto her stool. "Hey." Short, flat, no smile. Something was off. Sofia pretended to scan the lab sheet, heart thudding in her chest. "Did you get the pre-lab questions?" "Mostly." Still no eye contact. She felt it then, that cold, subtle shift when someone starts putting walls back up. They moved through the steps of the experiment, their hands a little too careful, their voices too measured. Gone was the easy rhythm of last week. Gone was the warmth. And then during the clean-up she saw it, Anna, same red hair, same fitted lab coat. She was talking to Tyler at the sink, laughing at something he said, her hand brushing his arm like it had a right to be there. Sofia looked away. She knew it wasn't fair. Tyler could talk to whoever he wanted. But it was the way he laughed back, natural, effortless, that made something twist in her stomach. They hadn't defined anything. There were no rules, no expectations. And yet she'd let herself hope. Back at the bench, she started wiping down their station with more force than necessary. When Tyler returned, she didn't look at him. "You okay?" he asked, sensing the shift. "Fine." "Right," he said quietly. They finished packing in silence. Outside, the hallway felt too bright, too loud. Sofia adjusted her bag strap and turned to leave, but Tyler caught up. "Sofia, wait!" She stopped. "I feel like something's weird," he said. "Did I do something?" She hesitated. Everything inside her wanted to say yes, that he'd been distant, that she'd seen him laughing with her, that she was tired of not knowing what this was, but the words stayed lodged in her throat. "No," she said instead. "You've just been busy, I guess." Tyler ran a hand through his hair. "Yeah, kind of." She waited for him to explain, to say something that would make this feel less like it was slipping away. But he didn't, and she didn't ask. "I'll see you around," she said, already turning. "Sofia—" She paused, but he didn't finish the sentence. She nodded once, then walked away, forcing herself not to look back. That night she stared at the blinking cursor on her laptop, unable to focus on anything. Not her assignments, not her flashcards, not the to-do list taped to her wall. Instead, she kept hearing his voice in her head, the soft, confused way he'd said her name, like maybe he had wanted to say something more, or maybe she was just imagining it. Either way, it didn't matter. She was already closing herself back up, one careful layer at a time. Chapter 9, The Catalyst. Sofia didn't go to the library on Sunday. She told herself she had too much work, that she needed a quiet weekend, that seeing Tyler again would only make things more confusing. But none of that stopped her from checking the clock at 2 Cal, or again at 2:15, or imagining him sitting there alone at their usual table, tapping his pen, waiting. On Monday morning there was an email. Subject, chemistry notes, from Tyler Marshall. Message, "Hey, I know you're probably busy, but could you send over the worksheet when you get a chance? Hope you're okay." No jokes, no emojis, just quiet. Sofia stared at it for 10 minutes before replying. "Sure, attached." She didn't add anything else. But Thursday's lab still came, and with it the inevitability of sitting beside him again. This time Tyler was late. By the time he rushed in, hair messy, hoodie inside out, Sofia was already halfway through setting up. "Sorry," he muttered, tossing his bag down. "Overslept." "It's fine," she said without looking up. He didn't answer. They moved through the lab like strangers. Efficient, careful, emotionally distant. Every movement measured, every comment clipped. It felt like the beginning again, but without the curiosity. Just space, cold and wide. They were cleaning up when he finally said it. "I waited on Sunday." Sofia froze. He wasn't looking at her. He was rinsing a beaker like he hadn't just dropped something fragile into the middle of their silence. "I was there, at 2, he added. She swallowed. "I couldn't come." "I figured." Pause. "I didn't know if I should text you," he said. "Didn't want to make it worse." "You didn't," she said, voice soft. He finally looked up. "You kind of disappeared," he said. "You were disappearing first." He blinked. "I wasn't trying to." "You were pulling back," she said. "I noticed. I thought maybe you changed your mind." Tyler stepped closer to the bench. "About what?" "About whatever this is." Their eyes met. "I didn't," he said. "You stopped talking to me." "Because I was scared. I liked you more than you liked me," he said, the words tumbling out fast. "And I didn't want to mess it up, or rush anything, or make it awkward." Sofia stared at him, stunned. "You thought you were the one who liked me more?" she asked. He gave a short laugh. "Yeah. Kinda stupid, right?" "No," she said quietly, "it's not." She reached for her bag, then hesitated. "I'm not good at this," she admitted. "I've never really let someone in like this before." Tyler's voice dropped. "Me neither." Silence stretched between them, softer now. Not distance, something else. "I miss the library," he said. She gave a small smile. "Me too." They didn't move, didn't speak. Then Tyler took one step closer. "I like you, Sofia. I'm not pretending I don't." Her heart stuttered. "I like you too," she said, "more than I meant to." His shoulders relaxed like he'd been holding his breath for weeks. "Do you want to start over?" he asked. She nodded. Maybe not all the way, but from here, yeah. They stood there for a long second, still not touching, still not kissing, but everything felt different now. This was the moment before something changed, and they both knew it. Chapter 10, The Reaction. They didn't move. Still standing at the lab bench, backpacks slung over one shoulder, the hallway slowly emptying around them. The air between them had changed. Charged now, delicate and impossible to ignore. Tyler was watching her like she might disappear if he blinked. Sofia's pulse was still in her ears. Her fingers twitched at her side, like they wanted to reach for something but didn't know how. Then he stepped closer. Not in a rush. Not dramatic. Just close enough that she could feel the warmth of him, just enough that she had to look up to meet his eyes. His voice was soft. "Can I kiss you?" Sofia nodded before her mind caught up, and suddenly his hand was at her jaw, light, tentative, careful, like she was something fragile. And then his lips met hers. It wasn't perfect. Their noses bumped. She nearly laughed. He pulled back like he'd done something wrong, brows knitting with worry. But she was already leaning in again. This time it was slower, less unsure, still gentle, still new, but hers. The kind of kiss that made her forget the hum of the fluorescent lights, or the fact that they were technically still in a science building. When they broke apart, she exhaled softly. "Are you okay?" he asked. She nodded. "Yeah, I just—" "Same," he said quickly, smiling nervously. "It's a lot. A good lot." He reached up and brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. "So, what now?" Sofia shrugged, still dazed. "I guess we go to our next class." Tyler laughed, and she liked the sound of it more than she should have. They didn't hold hands when they left the building, but their steps fell in sync. She didn't lean into him, but she didn't pull away when his arm brushed hers. It felt like everything had changed and nothing had all at once. It wasn't like in the movies. There were no grand gestures, no whispered love declarations under the stars. But by Sunday, Tyler was already at the library when she arrived. There were 2 mugs on the table. He looked up when she approached, his grin soft, a little crooked. "Jasmine, no sugar," he said. "I guessed." "You remembered." "Wasn't hard." She sat down across from him. He nudged the tea toward her, fingers brushing hers. Neither of them looked away. Their knees touched under the table again. This time Tyler didn't pretend it was an accident. And this time Sofia reached across the table and laced her fingers through his. They didn't talk about it. They didn't need to. He still sent her bad chemistry puns between classes. She still rated them with mock severity. In lab, he still forgot which solution to add first. She still rolled her eyes, but now she did it smiling, biting back a laugh. On Thursday, when she leaned over to correct his work, his hand found the small of her back. Gentle, familiar. She didn't freeze. She leaned in closer. By the following Sunday, he walked her home in the quiet dusk. Outside her door, neither of them moved for a long second. Her key was already in her hand, but she didn't turn it. He looked at her, cautious. "Still okay?" "Yeah," she said softly. Then, with the barest smile, "Want to come up for a bit?" Tyler's eyes flicked to hers, searching. She didn't look away. He nodded. "Yeah, I'd like that." She opened the door. He followed. And as she closed it behind them, her heart wasn't calm at all. It was fast, light, alive. Because this wasn't slow anymore. This was heat building in quiet places. This was a spark held in waiting, finally catching flame. And that's the end of the story. If you enjoyed this romance and want more love, longing, and late-night kisses, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.